Hey, welcome to CineMike. For this episode I'm going to review Atomic Blonde, which is based on the graphic novel The Coldest City. This movie is brought to you by the director of the first John Wick movie, David Leitch, and he brings over most of the same production team from that movie. He's also signed on to direct Deadpool 2, so he's planting some firm roots. This movie has been promoted to be a female Bond with a John Wick feel, or that's at least how audiences came to think of the film based on the advertisements. That excited me because I love the spy genre and was totally game to see the female equivalent of James Bond. This serves as a vehicle for star Charlize Theron, who's also one of the producers on the movie. She plays Lorraine Broughton, an MI6 spy who was sent on a mission to Berlin during the end of the Cold War. A fellow agent was killed on an assignment to recover a list that includes the names of double agents. Now the list is in the open and serves as the MacGuffin in the film that everyone is after, including MI6, French intelligence, CIA. Broughton is pulled into a game of chess where she can't trust anyone, including her contact David Percival, who's played by James McAvoy. Broughton must find and secure the list before it falls into the hands of the KGB, where it would seriously jeopardize the West's entire intelligence operation. Well, I'm going to start with what I liked about the movie. I thought that the setting was a great choice. The end of the Cold War was such a big shakeup of superpower alliances and for the intelligence community. It was a very long and exhausting standoff in the world, and you can feel the weight of that on the characters in this. Also, the 1980s offers a very unique style, both in fashion and in music to explore. The film definitely doesn't waste that opportunity. The soundtrack rocks out with some of the classics from the time, like Queen, David Bowie, Duran Duran, and others. It definitely captures the right feel, and it's a bit of a throwback. Like, this feels like it could have been made back then. This old-school approach is also accomplished in the brutal practical stunts and the action in the film. Charlize Theron trained really hard for this one, and it shows. You can see that it's really her in the thick of the action kicking some serious ass. There is one action sequence in particular in this that was really impressive. Theron's character Lorraine tries to smuggle a defector out of Berlin, and they are pursued by the KGB in a long tracking shot. The fight rages through this apartment building, down the staircases, and then out onto the streets into a car chase. Obviously there are some hidden cuts in there, but this was still expertly put together. The fight feels so gritty and real as you watch Theron try to overcome injuries and fatigue to throw out more punches. Great sequence. The acting here is pretty solid. Charlize Theron is easily the best thing about this movie, and she makes playing a badass look easy, and she's totally convincing in the role. James McAvoy is always a pleasure to watch, and there's an energy that he brings that can make even a dull moment interesting. Sofia Boutella plays a French agent and love interest for Theron, and there's a pretty graphic sex scene between the two of them that is sure to make their fans' mouths drop to the floor. The cast also includes Toby Jones as Charlize Theron's MI6 superior, and John Goodman as a CIA suit. They're both debriefing her throughout the movie, and obviously those guys have never delivered a bad performance in their lives. Now I'm going to move on to what I didn't like about the movie. First off, the trailers for this irritate me because they use clips that spoiled a couple of moments for me. Also, I think that they made the movie look more fun than it ultimately was. And I have to say that despite the positives that I mentioned, I walked out of this movie feeling slightly underwhelmed. It was definitely not bad, but it was never great in my opinion. I think this is just because I didn't feel as engaged as I wanted to be. While there is some impressive fights, I would say that the movie was slower than I expected. Now, I'm not an action junkie, but I just didn't think that the scenes in between were very interesting. The tone felt a bit dry at times. Charlize Theron is fantastic at what she had to work with, but at the same time, her character also didn't have that much to her. She was a bit standard, just your typical badass off of the assembly line. She's very cold and detached, which is part of the character, but it felt like they could have done more with her. My issue is totally on the end of the writing and directing, by the way, and not at all on Charlize Theron. Also, this list of operatives that everyone is after feels a bit like a tired plot device, as I've seen this used several times in the spy genre. The first Mission Impossible and Skyfall come to mind specifically. Also, the film's narrative flow felt a bit off to me. The mission is being told in flashbacks, while MI6 and the CIA are debriefing Theron in the present. The problem here is that this removes any sense of real danger for her character, because we already see from the get-go that she survives. There is something also kind of lazy about it, because they keep explaining things by cutting back to this debriefing. So it would be like if I used a word in this review, and then cut away to me defining the word from the dictionary. so it feels a bit like the movie is treating us like idiots. Now there is sort of a reason near the end of the movie that I will not spoil that could explain why they went in this direction. The ending is pretty unnecessarily convoluted and overcomplicated. It's not that it was hard to get, it's just that it wasn't set up very well. Well, I say that, but there were clearly some people that were very confused about the ending. I mean, judging by the conversations that I overheard on my way out of the theater. I just felt like they threw together an ending to try to show off how clever they are, rather than give us something that made sense for this story. So I think that the movie was fine. It did its job. I'd say that I overall liked it. It's just that it didn't quite meet my expectations for pure awesomeness. I wanted to be more engaged and to have more fun with it than I did. It still had solid fights, and Charlize Theron does deliver on being a badass. I do think that there's a potential franchise here, but I hope that if there is a next time, that they put a little bit more attention into coming up with a fresh and engaging story to match the cool style of the music and visuals. Now on to my rating. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the very best that this particular movie could be for me, I think that Atomic Blonde is a 7 that has moments of reaching a 9, but I think at the end of the day, I'm going to have to settle on giving it a 7. And I think that about covers it. If you enjoyed this video, then please click like, and feel free to leave a comment below. Tell me if you agree or disagree, and I also welcome you to subscribe to my channel. You can now also follow me on Twitter at CineMikeNerd. So anyways, until next time, this is Mike, signing off.